They told her she wasn't strong enough, wasn't fast enough, wasn't Marine enough, but Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez proved them wrong with 73 confirmed kills in Fallujah. Until March 15, 2004, when her squad was ambushed. No survivors, they said. Her dog tags buried with an empty coffin. But 20 years later, a Syrian refugee child handed those same dog tags to an American doctor, still warm, still bloody. And carved into the metal was a message that changed everything we thought we knew about that day. If this story moves you, consider subscribing for more tales of forgotten heroes whose sacrifices remain hidden. The morning sun hit the canvas walls of Dr. Sarah Chen's medical tent outside Aleppo, casting long shadows across the refugee camp. Inside, the metallic scent of sterilized instruments battled with the sharp smell of disinfectant, but neither could completely mask the dust and heavy odor of despair that seeped in from outside. Sarah still felt the exhaustion from last night's emergency surgery deep in her bones. This was her third tour with Doctors Without Borders, and each time it seemed to get harder. As she washed her hands, she heard small footsteps approaching the front of the tent. Not heavy steps, but cautious ones. Many children approached this way, with hope mixed with fear. Sarah dried off and headed to the tent entrance. Standing before her was a girl, about 8 or 9 years old. Her clothes were dusty and patched like the other children, but something was different. Her posture, her gaze, and most importantly, instead of trying to communicate with hand gestures, she spoke in fluent, unhesitating English. "Are you the doctor?" the girl said, her voice surprisingly clear with perfect pronunciation. Sarah paused. Most children in the camp knew basic English words, but this child's pronunciation was flawless. She even had an American accent. "Yes, I'm a doctor. What's your name, sweetie?" The girl looked around, as if checking whether anyone was listening, then stepped closer to Sarah. "My name is Zara," she said quietly, "but I have something more important to give you." She reached into her pocket and pulled out something Sarah never expected. American military dog tags, 2 metal plates connected by a faded green cord. Bloodstains were still visible. Sarah's breath caught. She carefully took the tags and read, Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez, USMC, 2004. Where did this come from? Sarah's voice trembled. Zara's eyes became serious. "She gave them to me, to find her family, to tell them she kept her promise." "Who gave them to you?" "Elena, the American woman soldier. She was like a mother to me for 3 years. She taught me English. She taught me how to stay safe. And on her last day, she gave me these tags." Sarah's mind was spinning. She looked at the date again. 2004. 20 years ago. This child wouldn't have even been born then. "Zara, where is Elena now?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. "She's gone. 3 weeks ago. But before she left, she gave me a mission. If you ever see an American doctor, give them these tags. Find Maria Vasquez. Tell her Elena kept her promise. She didn't leave anyone behind." Sarah examined the tags again. There were small scratches on the metal, dates, coordinates, and some names. At the bottom, almost too faded to read, but still visible. For Maria, Te amo hermana. "Zara, what else did Elena tell you?" The girl looked around once more, then leaned close to Sarah's ear. "She didn't really die. Everyone thought she died, but she was alive. She was hurt, very hurt, but she was alive. And she stayed here. She stayed with us. She protected us." Sarah's cell phone started buzzing. It could be an emergency, but right now all she could think about were these dog tags and how she was going to find Maria Vasquez. "Zara, can you show me where Elena lived?" The girl nodded but hesitated. "It's dangerous, but she taught me the safe ways." That evening, Sarah sat in her tent examining the dog tags over and over. With the camp's weak internet connection, she tried searching for Maria Vasquez. Finding information about Elena Vasquez was easier. CNN's archives had her story. First female Marine sniper, Elena Vasquez killed in action in Fallujah. The article was dated 2004. The photo showed a young, determined woman, her dark hair pulled back tightly, her eyes filled with resolve. Information about her family was below the photo. Vasquez is survived by her sister Maria Vasquez and mother Carmen Vasquez. Sarah searched further. She found Maria Vasquez's Facebook account. Every year she posted the same photo, standing in front of Elena's military headstone. 20 years. Still miss you, Hermana, so proud. Sarah decided to send a message. She didn't know how to begin. Finally, she wrote simply, Hello, Maria. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I work with Doctors Without Borders in Syria. I have something to tell you about Elena. Please call me." She added her phone number. The memory came to Elena in fragments during her final days, crystal clear despite the morphine. The call came in at 05:47 hours. High-value target, compound on the eastern edge of Fallujah. Elena adjusted her position on the rooftop, M40A3 rifle steady against her shoulder. Through her scope, she could see the building clearly. 800 meters away, perfect shot. "Overwatch, this is Guardian 1, came the voice through her earpiece. "Lieutenant Morrison, squad leader, good man. We're moving in, keep us covered." "Roger that, Guardian 1. I've got eyes on the compound. 3 tangos visible on the second floor, 2 more in the courtyard." What Elena didn't know was that Captain Reed had already made a deal. The compound wasn't just a terrorist safe house. It was a meeting point where American intelligence was being sold to the highest bidder. And Elena's presence was the only thing standing between Reed and a very lucrative retirement. "Guardian 1, be advised," Elena spoke into her comm. "I'm seeing movement from the north. Possible reinforcements inbound." "Negative, Overwatch. Maintain position. We're going in." Elena watched through her scope as her squad approached the building. Something felt wrong. The tangos weren't taking defensive positions. They were waiting, like they knew the squad was coming. "Guardian 1, abort. Repeat, abort mission. This feels like a setup." "Overwatch, maintain radio silence and hold position. That's an order." Elena's training warred with her instincts. Through her scope, she saw a reflection of sunlight, off metal from a building to the south. Another sniper, not friendlies. "Guardian 1, sniper position south of your location. You're walking into a kill zone." "Overwatch, you are ordered to maintain position and silence." Elena watched in horror as the IED exploded beneath her squad's lead vehicle. The blast was massive, coordinated, but through the smoke and chaos she saw something that made her blood run cold. Captain Reed, speaking into a radio from a position 200 meters behind the squad. He wasn't calling for help. He was confirming the strike. Elena didn't hesitate. Her first shot took out the enemy sniper. Her second and third shots eliminated the RPG teams that were moving to finish off any survivors. But as she repositioned, a mortar round landed 20 feet from her rooftop position. The blast threw her from the building. She landed hard in an alley 3 stories below, her rifle shattered, her left leg clearly broken. But she was alive, and she could hear voices approaching. American voices. "Find the body. Make sure she's dead." Elena recognized the voice. Corporal Davies, one of Reed's men. They weren't there to rescue her. They were there to eliminate the only witness to Reed's betrayal. Fighting through the pain, Elena crawled deeper into the alley, behind a pile of rubble. She could hear them searching, getting closer. With trembling hands, she pulled off her dog tags and used a piece of shrapnel to carve coordinates into the metal, the location where she'd seen Reed taking money from a man in civilian clothes 2 days earlier. A local family found her 3 hours later, an elderly Iraqi man named Omar and his daughter Amira. They should have turned her over to the Americans. Instead, Omar looked at her broken body and saw his own daughter, killed in a bombing 6 months earlier. "American girl," he whispered in broken English. "You are hurt. We help." Elena tried to speak, but only managed to whisper, "They think I'm dead. Keep me dead." Omar nodded as if he understood more than just her words. "Dead girl tell no stories. Live girl. Live girl can choose new story." They carried her to their home, where Amira, a former medical student, sat Elena's leg and treated her injuries with supplies scavenged from abandoned hospitals. For 3 months, Elena lay in a small room, healing slowly, learning Arabic, and planning. When she was strong enough to walk, Omar brought her news from the American base. Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez was officially dead, killed in action during a terrorist ambush. Her squad had been wiped out. There were no survivors. "What you do now?" Omar asked. Elena looked out the window at children playing in the courtyard despite the war raging around them. They laughed despite having lost everything. They played despite having nothing. "I think," she said slowly, "I was saved for a reason." Elena's first year among the displaced was the hardest. Not because of the physical challenges. Her Marine training had prepared her for hardship. The difficulty was learning to see war from the perspective of those who had never chosen to fight. Omar's family became her guide into this new world. Through them, she met others, families who had lost everything, children who had been separated from their parents, elderly people abandoned when their families fled. Each story broke her heart a little more, but also strengthened her resolve. "You cannot save everyone," Omar warned her one day as she prepared to venture into a particularly dangerous area to retrieve a group of orphaned children. "This is not like your American war. Here, you save who you can save when you can save them." But Elena had been trained never to leave anyone behind, and she wasn't about to start now. Her first successful rescue operation came 8 months after her death. She had learned that a group of children were trapped in an abandoned school during a firefight between insurgents and Iraqi police. The building was in no man's land, too dangerous for emergency services to reach. Elena studied the building for 3 days, noting patrol patterns, weapon placements, and safe routes. On the 4th night, she moved in alone. Using skills learned in Marine reconnaissance training, she infiltrated the building, found 7 children hiding in a basement classroom, and led them out through a drainage tunnel that connected to a mosque 2 blocks away. The children told their families about the angel woman who spoke Arabic with an American accent and knew how to move like a ghost. Word spread quietly through the displacement communities. When children went missing, people whispered about the American woman who could find them. Elena never sought credit or recognition. She simply appeared when needed and disappeared when the job was done. But as the years passed, her network grew. Former Iraqi military officers who had been displaced taught her advanced urban warfare tactics. Doctors without official hospitals shared medical knowledge. Teachers who had lost their schools helped her understand child psychology and trauma. By 2006, Elena was no longer just rescuing children. She was training others to do the same. She established a network of safe houses, communication protocols, and supply lines that operated entirely outside official channels. Her group became known in whispers as the Guardians. The work took its toll. Elena aged rapidly, her hair turning gray by her early 30s. Constant stress and poor nutrition wore at her body, but her spirit remained unbreakable. She had found her true calling, and it gave her life meaning in a way that her military service never had. Omar's daughter Amira became her closest partner in the work. Together, they developed systems for identifying at-risk children, extracting them from dangerous situations, and placing them with families or in secure locations. They created false documents, established educational programs, and built an underground railroad for the most vulnerable. "Why do you do this?" Amira asked her one night as they sat planning their next operation. "You could go home, tell people you survived, be with your family." Elena looked at a wall covered with photos of children they had helped over the years. "This is my family now," she said simply. "These children need what I can give them more than my sister needs me to be alive." But Elena never stopped thinking about Maria. Every letter she wrote but never sent was a testament to the love she felt for her sister and the pain of the choice she had made. She kept track of Maria's life through internet searches when she could access computers. She knew about Maria's marriage, her divorce, her job as a social worker helping immigrant families in San Antonio. "She's helping children too," Elena told Amira with pride. "It's in our blood, I think." Captain Marcus Webb had never believed Elena Vasquez was dead. Not really. Not after what he'd seen in that medical facility in Germany 3 days after the Fallujah incident. Webb had been brought in to debrief the wounded from Elena's unit, the few who had survived the initial blast. What he heard didn't match the official report. Corporal Martinez, barely conscious and heavily sedated, kept repeating the same phrase. "Elena saved us. She kept shooting. They were coming to finish us off, but Elena kept shooting." But according to the official report, Elena had been killed instantly in the initial explosion. How could a dead Marine have provided covering fire for her wounded team? Webb dug deeper. He accessed the communications logs from that day and found gaps, periods where Elena's radio should have been active but showed no transmission. He studied the blast patterns and found Elena's blood on a rooftop 400 meters from where her body was supposedly found. Most disturbing of all, he discovered that Captain Reed had been present at the scene but had filed no after-action report. When Webb tried to interview Reed, he found that the captain had been quietly transferred to a desk job in Virginia and had subsequently resigned from the military. Webb's investigation was shut down by his commanding officer after only 2 weeks. "The Marine is dead, Captain. Writing reports won't bring her back. Move on." But Webb couldn't move on. Elena Vasquez had been the finest Marine sniper he'd ever worked with, and more than that, she'd been a friend. If there was even a chance she had survived, he owed it to her to keep looking. Over the years, Webb used his connections in military intelligence to track any mention of Elena's name or description in intelligence reports from the Middle East. He maintained contact with relief organizations operating in refugee areas, asking them to watch for any American woman matching Elena's description. The first real lead came in 2009. A Red Cross worker in Jordan reported treating a woman who spoke Arabic fluently, but had distinctly American medical knowledge and techniques. The woman had refused to give her name but had helped treat dozens of wounded refugees with a skill level that suggested military medical training. Webb flew to Jordan immediately, but by the time he arrived, the woman had disappeared. However, other refugees told him stories of an American woman who appeared during the worst crises, helped organize evacuations, then vanished when official aid arrived. Similar reports surfaced over the years from Lebanon, Syria, and Turkey. Always the same pattern. An American woman with military bearing who helped coordinate refugee protection efforts, never stayed long enough to be officially documented, and seemed to have an uncanny ability to predict where help would be needed most. Webb began to suspect that Elena wasn't just alive, she was running a sophisticated operation. He started mapping the locations where she'd been spotted and found they corresponded with major refugee movements and displacement crises. She wasn't wandering aimlessly, she was following the need. In 2015, Webb received a message through encrypted channels used by military intelligence. No signature, no identification, just coordinates and a time. The coordinates led him to a refugee camp in Turkey. At the specified time, he found a young man waiting for him, a Syrian refugee who spoke perfect English. "You are the one looking for the American woman?" the young man asked. "Yes." "Do you know where she is?" "I know someone who might. But first you must prove you are her friend, not her enemy." The young man handed Webb a photo. It showed Elena, older and thinner than Webb remembered, but unmistakably her. She was surrounded by children, teaching them what appeared to be basic first aid. "This was taken last year," the young man said. "She saved my family when our village was bombed. She taught me English, gave me hope. But she also told me to watch for American soldiers asking questions. She said if they were her friends, they would know certain things about her." "What kinds of things?" "She said her friend Marcus would know about the promise she made in Germany." Webb's throat tightened. In the military hospital in Germany, as Elena was being loaded onto a helicopter for evacuation, she had gripped his hand and said, "Promise me something, Marcus. If anything happens to me, if I don't make it, take care of my sister Maria. She's all the family I have." "Tell her," Webb said quietly, "that I've been keeping my promise. I've been watching over Maria for 20 years, but I'd rather keep my promise to Elena herself." The young man smiled. "She said you would say something like that. She wants you to know she's well, she's doing important work, and she'll contact you when the time is right." That was the last confirmed contact Webb had with Elena's network. But it was enough to keep him searching and to start making preparations for the day when Elena might need help coming home. Elena knew she was dying 6 months before she told anyone. The persistent cough that had started as a minor irritation in her chest had grown worse, and the weight loss couldn't be hidden anymore. When she finally allowed Amira to examine her, the diagnosis was what she had feared: advanced lung cancer, likely caused by years of breathing dust and chemical residues in war zones. "We can get you treatment," Amira insisted. "There are hospitals in Turkey, doctors who specialize in this." Elena shook her head. "At my age, with my condition, treatment would mean months in a hospital bed. That's not how I want to spend whatever time I have left." Instead, Elena chose to focus on ensuring her work would continue after she was gone. She spent her remaining months training her successor network, documenting her methods, and making sure every child under her protection had a safe place to go. The hardest part was preparing Zara for what was coming. The little girl had attached herself to Elena with fierce loyalty, and Elena knew her death would be devastating for the child. "I need you to be brave for me," Elena told Zara one evening as they sat watching the sunset. "I need you to help me with one last mission." "What kind of mission?" Elena pulled out her dog tags, the ones she had carried for 20 years but never worn openly. "I need you to help me send a message to my family, to let them know I kept my promise." "What promise?" The promise all Marines make, to leave no one behind. I couldn't save my squad in Iraq, but I've spent 20 years making sure no child gets left behind, if I can help it. Zara studied the tags carefully. These will help your family find you. These will help my family find peace. And you, little one, are going to be the messenger who brings it to them. Elena spent her final weeks teaching Zara everything she could about American culture, about Maria, about the life she had left behind. She wrote letters explaining her choices, documented her network for future operations, and made arrangements for the children who depended on her. Most importantly, she made sure Zara understood the gravity of the mission she was being given. "You are not just carrying my tags," Elena explained. "You are carrying my love for my sister, my respect for the children who grew up because of our work, and my hope that our story will inspire others to protect those who cannot protect themselves." "I understand," Zara said solemnly. "I will find your sister. I will tell her you kept your promise." Elena died peacefully on a Thursday morning, surrounded by the children she had spent 20 years protecting. Her last words were spoken in Spanish. "Te amo, Maria. Nos vemos pronto." The children buried her according to Muslim traditions, as she had requested. No military honors, no flag-draped coffin, just a simple grave in the soil where she had chosen to make her final stand. 3 days later, Zara set out on her mission, carrying Elena's dog tags and the weight of a promise 20 years in the making. While waiting for a response, she decided to talk to Zara again. Finding the girl was easy. She wasn't playing with the other children. She sat alone in the shadow of a tent. "Zara, what else did Elena teach you?" "Many things. She taught me first aid, how to move quietly, how to find safe water, but most importantly, she taught me what to do when I'm scared." "What did she say about fear?" Zara's small face became serious, taking on an expression too mature for her age. "She said fear is not the enemy. Fear keeps you alive, but you can't let fear make your decisions. You have to think, then act." Did Elena ever talk about her family? About America? Every night. She talked about her sister Maria. She said Maria made the best tamales in San Antonio. She said when she got home, she would teach Maria how to shoot like her. Zara paused, but she never went home. "Why didn't she go home, Zara?" The girl was quiet for a long moment. "Because there were children who needed her more. Children like me." Sarah's phone rang at 3 a.m., unknown international number. She answered with her heart pounding. "Dr. Chen?" A woman's voice shaking. "Yes, this is Sarah. This is Maria Vasquez. I got your message. What do you know about my sister?" Sarah took a deep breath. "Maria, I'm going to tell you something that might be hard to hear, but I think Elena might have been alive much longer than anyone knew." Silence on the other end. Then, "That's impossible. We buried her. The Marines confirmed her death." "I have her dog tags, Maria. A child here gave them to me 3 weeks ago. She said Elena lived here for years, taking care of refugee children. Can you send me a photo of the tags?" Sarah had already prepared for this. She sent the photos immediately. After a few minutes, Maria's voice came back, now crying. "Those are hers. I recognize the scratches. She used to carve little marks when she was nervous." Her voice broke. The message at the bottom, "Te amo, hermana." That's what she used to write in my birthday cards. "Maria, there's more. The child who gave me these tags, she speaks perfect English with an American accent. She knew things about you that only Elena would know." "What things?" "About the tamales, about wanting to teach you to shoot." Maria was quiet for a long time. "Dr. Chen, I need to come there. I need to see this place. I need to understand what happened to my sister." "Maria, it's very dangerous here. This is an active conflict zone." "I don't care. Elena was my only family after Mom died. If there's a chance she survived, if there's a chance she lived even 1 day longer than we thought, I need to know. I've been visiting an empty grave for 20 years. 2 days later, Maria Vasquez sat across from Sarah in the medical tent. She had flown to Turkey, then made the dangerous journey across the border with a humanitarian convoy. She was older than Elena in the photos, with lines around her eyes that spoke of 2 decades of grief, but the family resemblance was unmistakable. Zara sat between them, holding the dog tags in her small hands. "Show her," Sarah encouraged gently. Zara looked up at Maria with serious eyes. "Elena told me about you every day. She said you have a scar on your left hand from when you tried to cook for her birthday when you were 12. Maria gasped and looked down at her hand. A thin white line ran across her palm. She said you used to braid her hair before school because she could never get it right herself. Maria's eyes filled with tears. How could you possibly know that? Because she told me. She said you were the strongest person she knew, and that's why she became a Marine, to be strong like you. Can you take us to where Elena lived? Maria asked, her voice barely a whisper. Zara nodded. But we have to be careful. The place is watched now. Bad men came after she left. They waited until early morning when the camp was quiet. Zara led them through paths Sarah hadn't known existed, between ruined buildings and through hidden passages that spoke of years of careful observation and planning. They arrived at what had once been a school. The building was partially collapsed, but one section remained structurally sound. Zara led them to a room in the back corner. Inside, Sarah and Maria saw what looked like a carefully maintained living space, a military-style bedroll, medical supplies organized with precision, and covering one wall, dozens of photographs of children, all smiling, all clearly cared for. In the center of the wall was a map marked with safe routes, water sources, and danger zones. At the bottom, in careful handwriting, Operation Guardian Angel, Protect the Innocent. Maria approached a small wooden box sitting on a makeshift table. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to her but never sent. She picked up the first one, dated 3 months after Elena's supposed death. Dear Maria, I know you think I'm gone, but I'm still here. I was hurt badly in the attack, but some good people found me and nursed me back to health. By the time I was strong enough to contact home, I learned that you and Mom had already held my funeral. I tried to come back, but then I realized something. There are children here who have no one. Children who need what I can give them. I know this is selfish, but I can't leave them. Not yet. I promise I'll come home when they're safe. Te amo, hermana. Elena. Maria read letter after letter, tears streaming down her face. 20 years of letters documenting Elena's life in this forgotten corner of the world. Stories of children she'd taught, protected, and loved. Stories of narrow escapes from danger. Stories of a woman who couldn't abandon those who needed her most. The final letter was dated just a month ago. Dear Maria, I'm getting old and I'm sick. The kind of sick that doesn't get better. But I want you to know that I kept my promise. I didn't leave anyone behind. Every child I could save, I saved. Every life I could protect, I protected. I trained others to continue the work. Zara is special. She has the heart of a guardian. If you're reading this, it means she found you like I knew she would. Don't mourn for me anymore, Hermana. I lived exactly the life I chose. I just wish I could have hugged you one more time. Until we meet again, Elena. Zara tugged on Maria's sleeve. There's more. She wanted you to see her most important work. The girl led them to another part of the building, where a group of older teenagers was waiting. All of them spoke English. All of them carried themselves with a confidence that seemed unusual for refugee children. Elena taught us, one of them explained, a young man who couldn't have been more than 17. She taught us how to protect the younger ones, how to find food and water, how to avoid the dangerous people. She said we were her squad now. How many children did she help over the years? Sarah asked. Hundreds, another teenager replied. She never turned anyone away. If you were alone, if you were hungry, if you were scared, Elena would find you and take care of you. Zara spoke up. She said her real mission was never finished in Iraq. Her real mission was here. Maria wiped her eyes and looked around at the faces surrounding her. She saved all of you. And we saved her too, Zara said quietly. She told me that taking care of us gave her a reason to keep living when everything hurt too much. As they prepared to leave, Maria asked Zara, "What do you want to do now?" "Where will you go?" Elena made arrangements, the girl replied with surprising maturity. She said if anything happened to her, we should contact someone named Captain Marcus Webb. He was her friend from the old days. He helps soldiers who need new families. Sarah's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Doctor. Chen, this is Captain Marcus Webb, U.S. Army retired. I understand you have information about Elena Vasquez. I've been waiting for this call for 20 years. I have a lot to explain. 2 weeks later, Maria stood once again before a headstone. But this time it wasn't empty. Elena's body had been found and properly buried in Arlington National Cemetery. The funeral was attended by dozens of young adults who had flown in from all over the world, children that Elena had saved over the years, now grown and successful in their own lives. Captain Webb delivered the eulogy. Elena Vasquez didn't die in Iraq in 2004. She was reborn there as something more than a Marine, more than a sniper, more than a soldier. She became a guardian angel for the forgotten children of war. She kept her promise to leave no one behind, but she expanded the definition of who was worth saving. Zara, who had been adopted by Maria and was now living in San Antonio, placed the original dog tags on Elena's coffin. "She's home now," the girl whispered, "and so are we." After the service, Maria showed Zara Elena's room, which she had kept exactly as it was for 20 years. On the dresser was a photo of the two sisters as children, arms around each other, smiling at the camera. "She never forgot about home," Maria said. "She just made her definition of home bigger." That evening, Sarah received a final message from one of Elena's former students, now a doctor himself working in refugee camps in Jordan. "Dr. Chen, because of Elena, there are now 12 of us working as doctors, nurses, and aid workers around the world. Her squad is still active. Her mission continues. Thank you for bringing her home." 6 months later, the Elena Vasquez Foundation was established, dedicated to providing education and protection for refugee children in conflict zones. The foundation's motto, taken from her final letter, reads, "Leave no one behind." In San Antonio, Maria keeps Elena's dog tags in a place of honor, but the inscription has been updated. Below the original text, new words have been carefully engraved. Guardian Angel, mission accomplished. And in refugee camps around the world, aid workers sometimes hear stories of an American woman who appeared when things were darkest, who taught children how to survive, how to hope, and how to protect each other. They call her stories legend now, but those who knew Elena Vasquez know the truth. Some heroes don't die, they just expand their battlefield. The real Elena Vasquez didn't die in an ambush in Iraq. She died peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by the children she'd spent 20 years protecting, after building a legacy that will save lives for generations to come. Her greatest victory wasn't in the 73 confirmed kills she made as a sniper, but in the hundreds of lives she gave hope, safety, and love to when the world had forgotten they existed. Sometimes the most important missions are the ones that don't make it into official reports. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones whose names are never known. But Elena Vasquez's name is known now, and her story ensures that no child will be forgotten as long as there are people willing to fight for them.